Blake Lively's team has made some massive blunders. We got the tilted lawyer himself here to break. This Isabella Ferrer story, if you're not aware, is the co-star of It Ends With Us. And she filed this motion, I guess, to get out of it all. Like, she's like, I don't want to be subpoenaed. And then by Justin attempting to serve her through her lawyers, she declared that Justin was now harassing her.
23-page opposition to a motion for alternative service that you never see. Like, usually when I do these, it's like at the most 3 or 4 pages.
Well, and not to interrupt, but I imagine this costs a lot more money too, does it not?
That's what I was just gonna say. It's like, yeah, the thing with indemnity is usually the employer gets to pick the attorney and they have some say as to what's actually gonna happen. But this attorney or this law firm that she's hired files this robust, as Friedman called it, robust opposition to a stupid issue. Has done similar things. This subpoena was a non-party that Lively had already subpoenaed. She already accepted the subpoena. She'd already submitted evidence. They're just trying to do their due diligence. And now this guy is raising these issues, basically naming Baldoni.
Could Blake Lively's legal strategy actually backfire and expose her team to criminal extortion charges? The Hollywood drama surrounding It Ends With Us has taken a jaw-dropping turn that nobody saw coming. What started as sexual harassment allegations has now spiraled into accusations of illegal extortion tactics, and the evidence is more damaging than anyone could have imagined. Before we dive into this legal earthquake, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This case is moving at lightning speed, and you won't want to miss a single explosive development that could change everything. Was this all a carefully orchestrated plan that's now crumbling spectacularly before our eyes? The latest court filings reveal tactics so questionable that even seasoned legal experts with decades of experience are calling them beyond unprofessional and potentially criminal. The spotlight has now shifted dramatically to Isabella Ferrer, Blake Lively's co-star in It Ends With Us, and what should have been a routine legal procedure has exploded into a scandal that's exposing the entire operation's questionable tactics. Let's break down exactly what happened here, because the details are absolutely staggering. Isabella Ferrer was already subpoenaed by Blake Lively's legal team months ago. She complied like any professional would, handing over documents and evidence as required by law. This is standard procedure in any legal case, Nothing unusual about it whatsoever. But when Justin Baldoni's legal team tried to access the same information through completely normal legal channels, everything went sideways in the most dramatic fashion possible. What should have been a simple professional courtesy turned into a legal circus that's now threatening to expose criminal behavior. Here's where it gets absolutely explosive.
This Isabella Ferrer story, if you're not aware, is the co-star of It Ends With Us. And she filed this motion, I guess, to get out of it all. Like, she's like, I don't want to be subpoenaed. And then by Justin attempting to serve her through her lawyers, she declared that Justin was now harassing her. I guess I want to start there. When you read her documents, Omar, was there any sign of harassment in her complaints?
No. I mean, she was already subpoenaed by Blake. She apparently has complied with that subpoena and handed over things. Maybe she hasn't handled over some things. And so Friedman attempts to get the things that she failed to hand over. And, just professional courtesy. Just look, will you accept the subpoena on her behalf? And then, crickets twice. And then they try to serve her at addresses that they have on file. They can't find her because she's very transparently dodging service. And then it turns out she has this indemnity issue with Wayfarer.
Ferrer's attorney filed a mind-blowing 23-page opposition to what should have been a basic procedural matter. Legal experts across the country are stunned by this move. These types of motions typically run 3 to 4 pages at most. That's the industry standard that every attorney knows. When you see a 23-page filing for something this routine, it immediately raises red flags. It signals that something much deeper and more problematic is happening behind the scenes. Experienced attorneys don't waste that much time and their clients' money unless they're trying to hide something significant, but the excessive length is just the beginning of this nightmare. Buried within those 23 pages are what legal analysts are now calling clear textbook examples of extortion tactics that could trigger criminal investigations. The most damaging evidence comes in the form of direct threats. Ferrer's legal team explicitly threatened to file what they called a previously drafted lawsuit unless their financial demands were met regarding an indemnity clause. In legal terms, this crosses a very dangerous line that separates aggressive advocacy from criminal extortion.
Service that you never see. Like, usually when I do these, it's like at the most 3 or 4 pages.
Well, and not to interrupt, but I imagine this costs a lot more money too, does it not?
That's what I was just going to say. It's like, yeah, the thing with indemnity is usually the employer gets to pick the attorney and they have some say as to what's actually going to happen. But this attorney or this law firm that she's hired files this robust, as Friedman called it, robust opposition to a stupid issue. And Friedman's even like, look, we're not even saying we need her, but they subpoenaed her. They got information. We are assuming they're going to use her as a witness. If they say they're not going to use her, then we don't need anything from her. We'll quash it, whatever. It's so unimportant to us. And then in the midst, what was more puzzling to me was in the midst of this 23-page opposition, they're trying to make a special appearance, just basically arguing that she's not dodging service or whatever. And then they proceed to talk about the merits of the subpoena, that it's duplicative, that it's meant to harass, that it's meant to annoy, it's overly broad, all of these things, which is...
Think about what this means. They're essentially saying, pay us what we want, or we'll file this lawsuit we've already prepared to destroy you. That's not legal strategy, that's extortion, plain and simple. The irony here is absolutely mind-boggling. Ferrer had previously sent multiple emails praising Justin Baldoni, specifically stating that he created such a safe space on the movie set. How do you claim harassment and create a hostile environment against someone you publicly thanked for providing safety and professionalism? This contradiction isn't just embarrassing, it's potentially case-ending. Courts don't look kindly on witnesses whose testimony contradicts their own documented statements, especially when those statements were made voluntarily and without any legal pressure. But here's where Justin Baldoni's legal team showed true strategic brilliance. Freeman, representing Baldoni, offered an incredibly reasonable solution that completely exposes the real game being played here. He essentially said, if Blake's team agrees not to use Ferrer as a witness in their case, we'll immediately drop our subpoena and leave her alone entirely. This offer reveals everything you need to know about the true motivations at play. If Ferrer genuinely wanted to stay out of this legal battle, this would be the perfect solution. But instead of accepting this reasonable compromise, her team chose to fight even harder, filing more motions and making more threats. Why would any attorney risk their career on tactics this questionable? The answer reveals a pattern of strategic miscalculations and possible corruption that's becoming impossible for even casual observers to ignore. The professional misconduct angle adds another devastating layer to this scandal. Ferrer's attorney has been practicing law for 26 years and apparently has significant personal history with Freeman, having recently lost a high-profile case to him. This personal animosity seems to have completely clouded his professional judgment and led him down a path that could end his career. When personal vendettas start driving legal strategy, you get exactly what we're seeing here: reckless tactics that prioritize revenge over client interests and legal ethics. Let's rewind and examine how this legal earthquake built up over time, because understanding the foundation makes the current explosion even more significant. The conflict initially began during the production of It Ends With Us, where Blake Lively alleged sexual harassment and claimed Justin Baldoni had created a hostile work environment. On the surface, this seemed like a straightforward harassment case that would follow predictable legal patterns, but what appeared to be a simple harassment complaint quickly morphed into something far more complex and coordinated. Blake's initial allegations triggered what can only be described as a full-scale media warfare campaign, with her legal team launching systematic character assassination efforts across multiple platforms. Major entertainment outlets ran headlines painting Baldoni as a predator while simultaneously positioning Lively as a brave victim, courageously speaking truth to power. The narrative was carefully crafted and consistently reinforced across different media channels. However, court documents and private communications tell a completely different story that directly contradicts this carefully constructed public narrative. Email exchanges between cast members, including the now infamous Isabella Ferrer communications, show a collaborative, professional, and supportive working environment. These internal communications weren't created for legal purposes. They were genuine, voluntary expressions of gratitude and professionalism that cast members shared during and after production. This makes them incredibly powerful evidence because they represent authentic feelings rather than litigation-driven statements. The case took another dramatic turn when Baldoni's legal team started fighting back, not just in court filings, but also in media statements designed to counter the negative publicity campaign. This defensive strategy was completely within their legal rights and followed standard practices for high-profile cases. But here's where Blake's attorneys made what might be their most critical error. They filed for sanctions, claiming that Baldoni's lawyer had no legal right to defend his client publicly or counter their media narrative. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Blake's team had been making far more inflammatory and damaging statements to major outlets like Deadline, TMZ, and other entertainment publications that were significantly more harmful than anything Baldoni's side had ever said. This hypocritical, double standard reveals the entitled mindset driving Blake's entire legal strategy. Rules apply to everyone else, but not to them. Now we need to examine the legal implications of these tactics, because they're far more serious than most people realize. Under California Penal Code Section 518, Extortion occurs when someone uses threats of any kind to obtain money, property, or other valuable consideration from another person. The language documented in Ferrer's legal filings appears to meet this criminal definition almost perfectly. The specific wording is crucial here. Legal documents show statements that essentially communicate, "Give us what we want regarding the EI, indemnity clause, and our legal fees, or we'll file this damaging lawsuit we've already prepared against you." In simple terms, this translates to pay up or face devastating legal consequences, which is textbook criminal extortion. What makes this even more legally problematic is the premeditation factor. Legitimate attorneys don't typically prepare entire lawsuits in advance and then threaten to file them unless their financial demands are met. This suggests a calculated plan to use legal threats as financial leverage, which strengthens any potential criminal case exponentially. The professional misconduct implications extend far beyond just civil violations. When licensed attorneys engage in extortion tactics, they face potential criminal prosecution, disbarment proceedings, and civil liability that could destroy their careers permanently. California's state bar takes these violations extremely seriously, especially when they involve threats made by officers of the court. The disciplinary process can result in suspension, disbarment, and referral to criminal prosecutors for investigation. But the strategic legal implications for Blake's case are equally devastating. If these extortion tactics are officially ruled as criminal behavior, it doesn't just hurt Isabella Ferrer. It potentially exposes Blake's entire legal strategy and her team's conduct to intense scrutiny and possible criminal investigation. Courts have zero tolerance for parties who engage in or enable extortion tactics during litigation. When judges discover this type of behavior, they often impose severe sanctions that can include dismissing entire cases, awarding attorney fees to the opposing party, and referring matters to criminal prosecutors. The excessive litigation pattern adds another layer of legal jeopardy. With over 670 court filings in this case, Judge Lyman is likely growing increasingly frustrated with what appears to be a deliberate strategy of frivolous motions designed to overwhelm the court system and exhaust the opposing party's resources. This type of abusive litigation conduct can result in vexatious litigant designations, which would severely restrict Blake's ability to file future lawsuits without court approval. It's a legal death sentence for someone whose career might depend on future litigation options. Even more damning is the sanctions hypocrisy. Blake's team demanded severe punishments against Baldoni's lawyer for making public statements defending his client, while simultaneously making far more inflammatory and potentially defamatory claims to major media outlets themselves. Judge Lyman has already ruled explicitly that both sides have the right to speak publicly about the case. When attorneys continue filing motions that directly contradict previous judicial rulings, it demonstrates either incompetence or willful disregard for court authority, neither of which plays well with judges. This case is revealing something deeply disturbing about how celebrity legal battles are being weaponized and corrupted in the modern era, and the implications extend far beyond just Blake Lively's immediate situation. Blake Lively's legal team has been operating with an apparent belief that they're above the normal rules of legal engagement that govern every other litigant. They've filed for sanctions repeatedly, acting like what legal experts describe as professional tattletales who expect special treatment rather than following standard legal procedures that apply to everyone else. This entitled approach creates a dangerous precedent that could fundamentally undermine the integrity of the entire legal system. When celebrity parties believe they can ignore court rules, abuse legal processes, and engage in potentially criminal tactics without consequences, it threatens the foundation of equal justice under law. The defamation scorecard reveals another layer of strategic disaster. While Blake's team continuously complains about Baldoni's public statements and demands sanctions for alleged defamation, they've been making far more serious and damaging claims across multiple media platforms. Blake Lively has literally accepted public awards and given speeches based explicitly on the premise that Justin Baldoni is a sexual predator, harasser, and abuser. These aren't private legal allegations. They're public character assassinations broadcast to millions of people worldwide. The contrast is stark. Baldoni's team makes defensive statements explaining their position, while Blake's team makes offensive accusations of criminal sexual behavior. Yet somehow, Blake's team believes only their opponents should face sanctions for public statements. Judge Lyman himself has already made crystal clear rulings about media engagement in this case. He specifically stated that clients have fundamental rights to have their attorneys give their interpretation to members of the press, and that the public has legitimate interests in hearing these perspectives in high-profile cases. Yet Blake's team continues filing motions and making arguments that directly contradict and ignore the judge's previous clear rulings. This pattern of behavior suggests either stunning legal incompetence or a deliberate strategy to wear down the court system through endless, frivolous filings. The Isabella Ferrer situation exposes yet another layer of strategic incompetence. By potentially engaging in extortion tactics to control her testimony, Blake's team may have inadvertently destroyed any credibility Ferrer might have had as a witness in their favor. If Ferrer is shown to have financial motivations for her testimony, to be under duress from extortion threats, or to be contradicting her own documented statements, her testimony becomes not just worthless, but actively harmful to Blake's case. What's particularly striking is how this mirrors broader patterns in celebrity culture, where public relations strategies are being confused with legal strategies in ways that create massive liability. The court of public opinion operates under completely different rules than actual courts of law, and Blake's team seems to have forgotten this fundamental distinction. This confusion between PR strategy and legal strategy is creating a new category of celebrity legal disasters that we're seeing repeatedly across Hollywood. When fame-driven tactics collide with evidence-based legal systems, the results are predictably catastrophic. The most damaging evidence in this case comes directly from the documented communications themselves, and they paint a picture that's absolutely devastating for Blake's credibility and legal strategy. Isabella Ferrer's emails praising Justin Baldoni for creating a safe space aren't just contradictory to harassment allegations. They're potentially case-ending pieces of evidence that destroy the foundation of Blake's claims. These communications are detailed, specific, and voluntary expressions of gratitude. You don't thank someone professionally and publicly for providing safety, support, and positive working conditions if they're simultaneously harassing, intimidating, or creating hostile environments. The mental gymnastics required to explain away these contradictions are extraordinary and likely impossible to achieve convincingly in court. But the extortion documentation adds an entirely different dimension that transforms this from a civil dispute into potential criminal activity. The specific language used in legal filings, "We are absolutely done and we will file the previously drafted lawsuit," reads exactly like a textbook threat designed to extract compliance through intimidation and fear. Legal experts examining these documents note that legitimate attorneys don't typically prepare entire lawsuits in advance and then threaten to file them unless their demands are met. This type of premeditation suggests a calculated scheme to use legal threats as financial leverage, which strengthens any potential criminal extortion case exponentially. The indemnity dispute documentation reveals even more problematic behavior patterns. Isabella Ferrer wants her substantial legal bills paid by the production company, but the evidence suggests she's willing to use extortion tactics and legal threats to extract that payment. This isn't how legitimate professional legal disputes are resolved in any industry. The email chain shows escalating demands and increasingly aggressive language that culminates in direct threats of legal action unless financial demands are met. This progression creates a clear timeline of extortionate behavior that prosecutors love to see in criminal cases. Even more telling is what happened when offered simple, reasonable solutions. When Justin Baldoni's team offered a straightforward compromise, just agree not to testify as a witness and the subpoena disappears entirely, Ferrer's team chose to fight harder instead of accepting the easy resolution. This response suggests the real goal was never avoiding testimony or staying out of the legal battle. The evidence indicates the actual objective was controlling the narrative while extracting maximum financial concessions through threats and intimidation. The pattern extends to Blake's broader legal strategy and creates a comprehensive picture of abuse. Every major motion seems designed not to win on legal merits, but to exhaust, intimidate, and financially drain the opposing party through endless procedural warfare. The staggering number of court filings, 670 and counting, speaks to a deliberate strategy of legal attrition rather than legal victory. This approach treats the court system as a weapon for harassment rather than a forum for justice, which judges absolutely despise. The documentation also reveals coordination between different parties that suggests a broader conspiracy to use legal processes for improper purposes. When multiple attorneys across different cases start using similar tactics and language, it indicates systematic abuse rather than isolated incidents. Judge Lyman now faces several critical decisions that could completely reshape this entire case and set precedents that extend far beyond just Blake Lively's immediate situation. First, and most importantly, the extortion allegations demand immediate judicial attention and potentially criminal referral. If Judge Lyman determines that Isabella Ferrer's legal team engaged in criminal extortion tactics, the consequences will extend far beyond just Ferrer herself. Criminal extortion charges would trigger investigations into Blake's entire legal strategy, her team's knowledge and involvement in these tactics, and whether there was a broader conspiracy to abuse legal processes for financial and strategic advantage. These investigations could uncover evidence that destroys Blake's case entirely. The sanctions motion presents another critical crossroads that could determine the entire trajectory of this litigation. Blake's team is demanding severe punishments for Baldoni's public statements while simultaneously making far more inflammatory and potentially defamatory claims themselves across multiple media platforms. The hypocrisy is so blatant and well documented that it may backfire spectacularly. Instead of winning sanctions against Baldoni, Blake's team could find themselves facing counter-sanctions, attorney fee awards, and judicial sanctions that cripple their case permanently. Legal experts predict Judge Lyman will eventually need to issue serious admonishments and potentially severe sanctions to restore order to his courtroom. The court system simply cannot function when parties file endless frivolous motions and engage in tactics that border on criminal abuse of legal processes. The Isabella Ferrer situation specifically could result in several devastating outcomes for Blake's team. Her testimony could be excluded entirely based on credibility issues and potential extortion influence. She could be held in contempt for dodging legitimate service of process. Or worst of all for Blake's side, Ferrer could completely flip and become a witness for Baldoni instead. If the criminal extortion allegations are substantiated, we could see criminal referrals to the district attorney's office. Extortion isn't just a civil matter that gets resolved with money. It's a serious criminal offense that prosecutors take very seriously, especially when it involves licensed attorneys and officers of the court. Criminal prosecution of Blake, Lively, or her legal team would create a media earthquake that makes the current drama look like a minor tremor. Hollywood extortion trials involving major stars would dominate news cycles for months and potentially destroy careers permanently. The broader strategic implications are equally significant for Blake's public image and career prospects. Blake's credibility has been so systematically damaged that even previously supportive media outlets like Deadline are now running headlines calling her approach tone-deaf and questioning her judgment. When your own media allies start jumping ship and running negative coverage, you know the public relations strategy has failed completely. This shift in media coverage often predicts and accelerates legal defeats because it reflects changing public perception and jury pool opinions. See White, precedent-setting potential of this case extends throughout the entertainment industry. If courts allow celebrity parties to abuse legal processes, engage in extortion tactics, and weaponize litigation for public relations advantage without serious consequences, it encourages similar behavior across Hollywood. Conversely, if Judge Lyman imposes serious sanctions and refers criminal behavior to prosecutors, it sends a clear message that celebrity status provides no protection from legal accountability. This could fundamentally change how high-profile entertainment disputes are litigated going forward. The timing considerations add another layer of pressure. This case is unfolding in real time with massive public attention, which means every judicial decision gets scrutinized immediately by legal experts, media commentators, and the general public. Judges hate being seen as biased or weak, which creates additional incentive for strong corrective action. This case has evolved into a masterclass in how legal strategies can catastrophically backfire when public relations tactics are confused with courtroom reality, and the lessons extend far beyond just Blake Lively's immediate situation. Blake Lively entered this legal battle with virtually every advantage imaginable: overwhelming public sympathy, supportive media coverage, and the powerful presumption that comes with being the accuser in a sexual harassment case. These advantages should have been insurmountable for any defendant to overcome. But through a series of strategic blunders, ethical violations, and potentially criminal tactics, her legal team has managed to squander every single one of these massive advantages in spectacular fashion. It's honestly difficult to imagine a more complete strategic collapse. The extortion allegations represent far more than just legal misconduct. They reveal a fundamentally corrupted mindset that views the entire legal system as a tool for intimidation, financial extraction, and character destruction, rather than a forum for determining truth and achieving justice. When licensed attorneys threaten to file lawsuits unless their financial demands are met, they cross a line that separates aggressive advocacy from criminal behavior. Courts cannot and will not tolerate this type of systematic abuse, especially from officers of the court who should know better. But perhaps most revealing is what this case exposes about celebrity culture and entitlement in 2025. The assumption that fame provides automatic protection from legal consequences and normal rules of evidence is being tested in real time, and the results are absolutely devastating for that assumption. If these criminal extortion allegations are proven in court, they won't just end Blake's current case. They could trigger federal and state criminal investigations that make her current legal troubles look like minor inconveniences. Extortion charges against a major Hollywood star would send shockwaves through an entertainment industry already reeling from multiple accountability scandals. The judge now holds unprecedented power to set legal precedents that could reshape how celebrity legal battles are fought for decades to come. Will courts continue to tolerate systematic abuse of legal processes disguised as aggressive advocacy, or will they finally draw permanent lines in the sand with serious criminal consequences? The broader implications for the entertainment industry are staggering. This case is being watched by every major talent agency, production company, and entertainment lawyer in Hollywood. The outcome will directly influence how future celebrity disputes are handled, what tactics are considered acceptable, and what consequences await those who cross legal and ethical boundaries. If criminal charges result from this case, it establishes that celebrity status provides zero protection from criminal prosecution for extortion, fraud, or abusive legal processes. That precedent alone could fundamentally alter the power dynamics that currently govern Hollywood legal disputes. And if this case moves forward with criminal extortion charges against Blake or her legal team, it could expose everything about one. How modern celebrity public relations machines systematically try to weaponize the legal system for publicity advantage and character assassination. The next few months could literally rewrite the rules for how celebrity legal battles are fought, what tactics are permissible, and what consequences await those who abuse the system. The stakes couldn't be higher for everyone involved. What do you think about these explosive developments? Are we watching the complete collapse of Blake Lively's carefully constructed victim narrative? Could these extortion allegations actually lead to criminal charges that destroy careers and set new legal precedents? Do you think this case will change how celebrity legal battles are fought forever? Drop your take in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for every explosive update in this legal earthquake. The next few weeks could change everything we thought we knew about celebrity justice, and you won't want to miss a single development in this unprecedented case.